Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Risha and this is For the Love of Classics. In today's video, I'm going to rank all the Jane Austen books I have read so far from worst to best. I've always wanted to do this video, but I was waiting to read all of Jane Austen books once. Jane Austen has written 6 complete novels. It was very difficult for me to rank them because I'm a huge Jane Austen fan. I absolutely love her books. They got me into reading classics. I will be forever grateful to Jane Austen for writing these books. I recently read one of Jane Austen's book. I reread 2 of them a couple of years ago. My opinion might change with years to come. I don't know. But as of today, this is the ranking I'm going to go with. So the book which I'm going to rank the lowest by Jane Austen is Sense and Sensibility. This was the 4th book by Jane Austen which I read. I had already read Pride and Prejudice, Persuasion and Emma by Jane Austen by the time I got to Sense and Sensibility. I read it in the year 2017, that is almost 4-5 years ago now. What I didn't like about this book was the characters because I felt like they were a bit too ridiculous. I know Jane Austen usually goes for ridiculous comedic characters, but this got a bit too out of hand for me. Marianne was so immature and I didn't like her for that. Eleanor was so reserved. Colonel Brandon was so madly in love, it sounded a bit ridiculous to me. Mr. Willoughby was just a repetition of Mr. Wickham. Edward was the only character which I liked in this book. So I gave Sense and Sensibility 2 stars. Do I wish to reread it? Yes, definitely at some point I would want to reread Sense and Sensibility, but I felt like this book was not giving me anything new. I absolutely love the film adaptation of Sense and Sensibility. Every actor in the film has done justice to the book. I know Sense and Sensibility is a favorite book of many people, so I'm by no means saying you should not read it because everybody has different tastes, and for me it just felt a bit short. The Jane Austen book which I'm going to rank on the 5th place is Emma by Jane Austen. So Emma is another book which I have in the Vintage Classics Library edition, and I've rated this book 3 stars on Goodreads. I actually really was obsessed with this book. I read modern day adaptations about Emma. I also read fan fiction about Emma and Mr. Knightley. But when it comes to this particular book, I feel like it's too long. There was no need for it to be this long because the main the happening parts of the book are at the very end of this book. The first 2/3 of the book is just Emma trying to set up Harriet, and there's a lot of that plot going on. So that's the reason why I did not enjoy Emma as much as I enjoyed other books by Jane Austen. I also did not relate with the character of Emma. She is rich and spoiled and has everything she needs and is bored. So those are not some things I relate with at all. I definitely felt like the character of Mr. Knightley was really mature, but the way he talks to Emma at times is just ridiculous. I'm going to my reviews on Goodreads because it just gives me a bit of an idea about what I was feeling like when I was reading the book. So I read Emma in the year 2008. Oh my god, it's definitely time for a reread. I remember even at the time when I did read it, I did not love it as much as I loved her other books. So the book which I'm going to rank on the 4th place by Jane Austen is Northanger Abbey. I absolutely loved this book. It was a fun and quick book to read. It's a book which is recommended to people who want to start reading Jane Austen because of its length. It's less than 250 pages. I really enjoyed reading it. I read it after I had watched the BBC adaptation of this book, but the book is obviously so much better. The character of Catherine Morland was so naive. Henry Tilney was what we call the grammar Nazi today, and he totally won me over, especially when he said, "The person, be it gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. I read this book in the year 2017 as well, the same year I read Sense and Sensibility, but I ended up enjoying Northanger Abbey much more than I enjoyed Sense and Sensibility. I know many people rave about Emma and Northanger Abbey, so again, I'm not judging anybody's choices. It's just a ranking of Jane Austen books for fun. It's not even like a literary criticism. It's just me telling you guys the ranking of my favorite Jane Austen books. So the book which I'm going to be ranking third on my list of Jane Austen books is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I read this last year during the lockdown. It was the last book by Jane Austen which I read, and I have rated this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure I would, because this is a book which is quite controversial. There are some people who absolutely love Mansfield Park, and then there are others who absolutely hate it. So I wasn't sure which category I would fall in, but I ended up enjoying it a lot. There are so many amazing quotes in this book, and I love the Wordsworth editions because they have these illustrations inside, and they just make the experience of reading Jane Austen so much more fun. I have a full review about Mansfield Park on my channel. I even did a reading vlog about it, so I'm going to link those videos in the description box below. Adultery is not a typical Jane Austen theme, but when it disturbs the relatively peaceful household at Mansfield Park, it has quite unexpected results. So this story is about Fanny Price. She's living with her cousins who are quite well off, while Fanny comes from a family who's not quite rich, and she feels like a second-class citizen in this household, and it's her story, and it's pretty amazing. So now I'm just left with two books by Jane Austen. There is Pride and Prejudice, and then there is Persuasion. And when it comes to these two classics, I have such a hard time picking one because I absolutely love them both. I love the heroines in the books, I love the guys in the books, but I'm going to be ranking Pride and Prejudice on the second position. I absolutely love this book. It's a 10 out of 5 stars for me. It's such a beautiful story. It's a funny, entertaining story. It has great moral lessons as well. There is a reason this book is so famous. I absolutely love the adaptations of Pride and Prejudice as well. My favorite adaptation is the Keira Knightley adaptation. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but it's the first one I watched and I really liked it. I used to dress up with my friends as Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet, and I had learned all the dialogues in the books. So I definitely have so many memories associated with this book, with the characters of Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet, that I feel like everybody has to read this book. There's nothing in this book which I don't like. I love all the characters, the whole plot, everything about this book is just perfect. And that is why it was difficult for me to rank it on the second position. It doesn't matter what gender you are, how old you are, what country you belong from. You just gotta read Pride and Prejudice. And the book which I'm going to be ranking on the first position is Persuasion by Jane Austen. It's that one book which gives me so many feels whenever I read it. The story of Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth will stay with me forever. It's the story of lost love. There's so much emotional drama going on in the background of the story. It's not just any love story, it's just a very deep and human, and it's a great book. It's a shorter book as compared to some of her other books. I think it was one of the last books which Jane Austen wrote. It's either this or Mansfield Park, but you can see the maturity of her writing in this book. The letter which Captain Wentworth writes to Anne Elliot brings me to tears every time I read it. It's short but powerful, and these two characters never really talk to each other in the whole book, but when they do express their feelings for each other at the very end, it's so impactful. And Anne Elliot is just stuck in this ridiculous family. Her father, her sisters are just so different from her, and She's just so misplaced in that household. But she's a very kind person who always keeps others before her. And when she finds her happy ending, it just is so amazing. And I'm so happy that finally there's a movie coming, an actual proper movie for Persuasion. I know there are a few adaptations for Persuasion. They're good, but they're not amazing because they're not like high budget films. But there is one movie for Persuasion which is coming up. They recently announced the cast for the film. Persuasion is currently being adapted into not one but two features. The one made by Netflix is going to star Dakota Johnson. I wasn't sure how I felt about Dakota playing Anne Elliot. And then the second film is going to star Sarah Snook as Anne Elliot. I've never heard of this actor before. I'm so happy that two films of Persuasion are coming. So this was just a fun video, guys, nothing too serious about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what do you guys think about my ranking of all the Jane Austen books. Have you read all of her books yet? Do you plan to in this year's Jane Austen July? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already. Leave some suggestions down below for future videos, and I'm going to see you all in my next video very, very soon. Bye.